Tonight you'll order dinner without leaving your couch. A few taps. A stranger delivers it to your door. You won't think about where it came from or what it cost to get there. But the real answer to what your ancestors ate is far stranger than kale and quinoa bowls. You've heard the story. Ancient humans ate lean meat, wild greens, nuts, roots. Simple, clean, close to nature. That story is mostly wrong. Your ancestors didn't eat clean. They ate whatever they could get, and getting it nearly killed them over and over for millions of years. Start 2 million years ago. Your ancestors are not hunting mammoths with spears. They are following other predators. They wait for a lion to finish eating, then they scavenge the leftovers, bone marrow, brain matter. The parts a lion doesn't bother to crack open. Why would anyone eat that? Because marrow is fat, and fat is calories, and calories are survival. Anthropologist Henry Bunn studied ancient bone fragments in Tanzania and found cut marks layered on top of tooth marks. Predators fed first, your ancestors fed second. That's not a hunting story, that's a scavenging story, and it's the one your biology actually remembers. Here's the part that should unsettle you. This scavenging diet reshaped your skull. Cooked and fatty foods meant less chewing. Less chewing meant smaller jaw muscles. Smaller jaw muscles meant more room in the skull. More room in the skull meant a bigger brain. You are not thinking clearly right now because your ancestors were noble hunters. You are thinking clearly because they were opportunistic scavengers who figured out fat equals fuel. Now fast forward. Fire changes everything. Richard Wrangham, a primatologist at Harvard, built an entire theory around this moment. He argued that cooking food was the single event that made humans human. Cooked meat and cooked tubers deliver far more usable energy than raw ones. Your gut doesn't have to work as hard. That saved energy went somewhere. It went to your brain. Think about that for a second. The oven in your kitchen is a direct descendant of a fire that made you smarter. But cooking wasn't reliable. Some seasons there was nothing to cook. This is where the real story gets uncomfortable. Ancient humans didn't eat 3 balanced meals a day. They ate in feast and famine cycles. A successful hunt meant gorging on meat until your ancestors could barely walk. A failed hunt meant days, sometimes weeks, of eating almost nothing. Your body still runs on that program. That's why your brain lights up around sugar and fat like nothing else matters. That's why one bite of cake at midnight can override every ounce of willpower you have. Your ancestors who binged when food was available survived the famine that came next. The ones who didn't binge didn't pass on their genes. You are quite literally the descendant of the best binge eaters in human history. Is that a flaw, or is that exactly what kept your bloodline alive? Let's go further back, past the meat, past the fire, to the plants nobody talks about. For most of human history, plants made up the majority of calories, not meat. Roots, tubers, wild grains, bitter greens loaded with toxins your body had to learn to process. Researcher Amanda Henry examined dental plaque from Neanderthal remains and found starch granules from cooked plants, evidence that even Neanderthals were processing tubers and grains long before agriculture existed. That upends the caveman eats steak image completely. Your ancestors were closer to slow-cooking foragers than steakhouse hunters. They spent hours digging roots out of hard soil for a fraction of the calories a single kill would provide. Most days looked like patient, exhausting labor, not a triumphant hunt. And they ate things you would never touch: insects, rotting fruit fermenting into something close to alcohol, bone marrow from animals already half-eaten by hyenas. Nothing was wasted because nothing could afford to be wasted. Here's the twist that changes how you should think about your own plate. Your ancestors weren't eating a diet. They were solving a puzzle every single day with whatever ingredients showed up. There was no meal plan. There was no macro tracker. There was only scarcity and a brain built to crave whatever would keep them alive one more week. That brain is still inside your skull. When you stand in front of a fully stocked fridge and still feel like there's nothing to eat, that's not a modern problem. That's an ancient alarm system, tuned for scarcity, going off in a world of abundance it was never built to understand. When you can't stop eating chips even after you're full, you're not weak. You're running software written for a world where the next meal was never guaranteed. Consider what that means for how you treat yourself the next time you overeat, or crave something your logical mind says you shouldn't want. You're not broken, you're ancient. The people who survived long enough to become your ancestors were the scavengers, the opportunists, the ones who ate the marrow nobody else wanted, who gorged when they could and endured when they couldn't. They weren't disciplined, they were adaptable. So tonight, when your food arrives at your door in 20 minutes, cooked, seasoned, ready to eat without a single hour of digging or scavenging, remember what that convenience actually is. It isn't ordinary. It's the answer to 2 million years of hunger, delivered in a paper bag, and you still won't think twice about it.